Sports Scene, Hampton Road's premier interview show with Greg Bicouvaris, each Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11.
And you look at that, 4-4 at home, which is just average, 4-3-1 on the road. I mean, you're not going to win any games like that. They were not the same team after they beat the Packers, yet the Packers were a totally different team.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter @GregBic and listen weekly as Greg interviews distinguished guests with excellent commentary and insight. Sports Scene, Saturdays at 10 a.m. on the Lighthouse 100.1 FM. From Chesapeake, Virginia, the Lighthouse 100.1 presents Sports Scene. Sports Scene features local, regional, and nationally acclaimed guests and excellent interviews. Follow Sports Scene on Twitter @GregBic. Now here is Greg Bicouvaris.
Sports Scene presented by Hampton Roads Online Mall.com. Sports Scene midweek online, Saturday on the radio on WPMH, AM 1010 and 100.1 FM, and tunein.com by typing WPMH in the search bar. Tell your friends about Sports Scene. Twitter @GregBic, and you can see the rest of my Twitter handles on GJBTV.com. Thank you to our military. Guest lineup presented by Buffalo Wild Wings and Newport News. Phone line presented by Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville and Virginia Beach. GJBTV.com. Click the YouTube link for archived audio and video. NFL is hot and furious right now. NBA, college football, a lot going on. Great interviews, excellent guests, business segments, highlights, commentary. What tees me off? Thank you for listening to Sports Scene. We love our regulars, locals, newcomers, and tourists who listen online and on the radio. Stay tuned. Greg Bicouvaris with Andrew will continue after this.
When it comes to automobile service in Hampton Roads, Fink's Car Care is the destination locals have counted on for decades. Family owned and operated, they specialize in transmission service, oil changes, state inspection, radiator service, tires, alignments, and showcase Win Automotive products. Fink's does it all. Military and senior discounts are available. Like them on Facebook and visit them at 2711 Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth. For more, log on to finkscarcare.com and call 485-5555 today. Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to GJBTV.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris.
And welcome back to Sports Scene @GregBic on Twitter. Glad you're with us every Saturday morning from 10 to 11 on 100.1 FM, 1010 AM, tunein.com. Type in WPMH in the search bar. It's a pleasure to interview Nathan Epstein from Wavy TV 10, Fox 43. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Greg.
Very good. A little bit behind the scenes in the radio today.
Oh, it's the last radio I did was probably college radio, but I always enjoyed it, so it's always fun to kind of get away from television every now and then.
Yeah, I think that's how it all got started for all of us at George Mason, too, as well. When you talk about your career and background, you grew up right here in Norfolk.
I did. I grew up, I was born in Norfolk and moved with my folks to Richmond, so I went to high school in Richmond, but I always came back. Hampton Roads was always home for me. My grandparents, stayed here, and so it was very much a home A, home B kind of thing, and stayed in the state to go to college. And so, yeah, I'm Virginia through and through, and Hampton Roads, 757, born and bred, and luckily enough to be able to cover my hometown. It's not very often. There's not many people that get to say that.
And you work with a couple gentlemen there that one's been there since the 70s, and other's been there for a good long time as well.
Yeah, I sort of I work with Bruce Rader. He's the legend. He's he's the GOAT, as they say today. He started there I think in 1978, and took over as sports director in like the early 80s. And yeah, Brian Parsons has been there. His running joke is, hey, you lose one card game and you're in for life. He's been there for 20 some years, and I've been at Wavy now. I'm getting up there. I got to say, I've been there for 7 years now, which sometimes it feels like it was just yesterday, and other times it feels like longer. But it's been fun. Yep,
and Bruce, of course, is first year Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame recipient in 2018. Of course, Nathan covered it at Langley Speedway that year as well. And of course, Brian, of course, his family's been involved in sports broadcasting. He's had several brothers that have done it as well. Mm-hmm. And so really, it's just a love of Hampton Roads and a love of sports.
Oh yeah, and I've learned so much from both of them. Brian is he's probably the top sports producer in the area, it's you go through the growing pains, and but it's a place where sometimes you're raked over the coals for mistakes you make, but that's the way you get better, and it really is. I mean, the one philosophy of Bruce that's always been there that I've always appreciated is that it's not just about sport, it's not just about highlights. It's anybody can put together a baseball game or a football game and say this is what happened, but he's always been interested in the stories, and he's always had an emphasis on local sports. He's always said he would much rather have a feature about a local athlete or a coach or a team and really highlight them as opposed to putting on highlights of the Tides, in the middle of the summer. Now, granted, everybody loves the Tides, nothing against them, but it's more about he loves putting an emphasis on local sports and local happenings, much more so.
Now, taking a step further, first of all, you have to be good at what you do in TV. TV first. You're producing content. Mm-hmm. You're creative. You're working hand in hand with news people as well, people that are constantly editing. That rubs off on you, so you branch out of sports, even though you're directly into sports from the media world.
Well, I mean, you mean as far as
just television in general? You're exposed to the entire operation.
Oh yeah, I mean, when you're in television, I mean, you learn about media, in general. I mean, you have to be, and when you're. From my standpoint, I can tell you that I have to know how to edit. I have to know how to produce. I have to know how to put stuff online. I have to know how to cut web video. So it's far from. It's amazing how many people you'll run into, and they say, "So you just kind of show up all day and you watch sports and you get no." I mean, you have to. I have to shoot my own content. I have to edit my own content, write it all, produce it all, anchor it myself, and then when it's done, I have to put it online. I have to write the web script, cut the web video. So yeah, there's a lot of facets in media that goes into being a sports anchor. It's far from just showing up and talking about sports.
No, but it's a people business. I couldn't do the show without a producer like Andrew, the TV show without a gentleman named Ray. I got a guy named Wade who does my commercials. So it does take a village to get it done. You have to rely on others to execute.
Oh, absolutely. And we Brian and I work very, very well together, and we work together on Saturdays when when we're busy with college football. He does one game, I do another. We coordinate well with each other, and at the same time, I've also learned from people that are not just in the sports department. You have Jeff Myers, who's the chief photographer. He actually was an intern with Bruce Rader way back in the day, and but I've learned a lot about how to be a storyteller from him. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that and you coordinate a lot with your producers, with the news producers who are busy building blocks for the news segment. You got to talk with them and make sure they know what you're doing. It takes a lot of people.
And you only have but so much time. You guys have more time than the other TV stations because you have a 15-minute segment at 10:45 on Fox 43. That does help because a lot of these guys, not just in this market but other markets, 1 or 2 minutes they're done.
Yeah, no, we're very fortunate. I mean, I've said to a lot of people that there aren't many sports operations in the country that, when you're talking about the big markets, when you're talking about top 10 markets, D.C., New York, L.A., Chicago, I'm sure that they probably have entire sports shows dedicated to the pro teams that are there. But it is very, very rare to have a station in a market this size that does not have a single professional team, and we have a 15-minute sports show every single night, 365. Now, granted, that's we're preempted for events like the World Series or like the Super Bowl or something like that. So it's on Fox 43. It's the Fox 43 Sports Wrap. It's 10:45 every night, and that is extremely rare in this day and age. When, like you said, most operations in market sizes that are under 30, we get 15 minutes, and that doesn't happen very often.
Right. Just to tell the folks, we do, of course, in Newport News, a 30-minute show called Sports Highlights, but we only produce it 11 times a year. Mm-hmm. Now, it runs a lot on the reruns, but when you produce content, you have to get it right. Whether it's radio, TV, or like Nathan said, internet, it's always something going on. But it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of talent, it takes a lot of treasure. You mentioned no professional sports team. Old Dominion's the key flagship station and flagship team for sports. Football team has been a disappointment this year.
Yeah, at the I think at this time they've now lost. At the time of this recording, they've lost 7 straight games. They just lost to Florida Atlantic over the weekend on homecoming, 41-3 on homecoming, and it's really. It's been rough. I mean, they have not been able to find consistency on offense at all. They have had little to no play from the little to no explosiveness from the quarterback. They've have nobody. The receivers have been non-existent. The offensive line's been shaky. The defense has actually been okay, but the problem is that they've just been on the field too long. And at the time of this, they're 1-7, and it's been a rough going in Norfolk.
But let me stop you for a second. Looking back now, Nathan, my friend, could you imagine if they would have lost to Norfolk State and it was a close game? And we're talking 0-8 right now, and we're talking a fine line too.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, I was on the sideline of that game, and when Norfolk State scored, I think it was about with 4 minutes left in that game, they scored, and they put up a 2-point conversion to make it a 3-point game. I honestly thought that game was over. I honestly thought Norfolk State had won because if you go back to that game, Old Dominion scored 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. They did nothing the rest of the game. They didn't put up a single touchdown in the second or third. Up until that last drive, they had not scored. And so I thought once Norfolk State had taken the lead, Norfolk State's defense was playing well. I honestly thought that Norfolk State was going to win. And, yeah, you're talking that close between 1-7 and 0-8.
That would have been a bad visual, bad optic. Just, it would have been – he would have been sweating bullets every single week. It's bad enough now because you've seen the fans leave after halftime, even with the new stadium.
It's unfortunate. I mean, you talk about where this program has been. I mean, when they were in FCS, they were a top 5 team in the nation with a quarterback who went on to win the Walter Payton Award and, sets the record for the most passing yards in a single game in FCS history at the time. I think that record's been broken since. But one time, an explosive offense, fun to watch, sellout crowds every single weekend. And, sometimes such is the way of football. The things change, and we'll wait and see how, if and how it's resolved.
Nathan Epstein will continue. Greg Bicouvaris, this is Sports Scene. We'll be back after these messages.
When it comes to automobile service in Hampton Roads, Fink's Car Care is the destination locals have counted on for decades. Family owned and operated, they specialize in transmission service, oil changes, state inspection, radiator service, tires, alignments, and showcase Win Automotive products. Fink's does it all. Military and senior discounts are available. Like them on Facebook and visit them at 2711 Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth. For more, log on to finkscarcare.com and call 485-5555 today.
And the new stadium is nice. As we're talking to Nathan Epstein, continued part 2 of our interview right here on Sports Scene, which is archived on Twitter and YouTube as well as other social media too, that you mentioned the Nationals, fairly new stadium. Virginia Tech's got their amenities. UVA's had their amenities. William & Mary's even had their amenities. A lot of people went to these nice stadiums, Harbor Park, well before Old Dominion renovated their stadium. So they've been exposed to nice stadiums well before, Foreman Field got renovated. That novelty can wear off quick as far as, okay, you got great concessions, the press room is a little bit bigger. That doesn't get you wins, though.
And so I'll take that in 2 parts. Is first of all, to John Broderick, the president of the university, and Wood Selig's credit, the athletics director, they recognize that if they are going to in any way compete at the Division I FBS level, that they had to have a new stadium. As much of a sort of a sentimental facility as it was, talking about the old Foreman Field, that it was well past its prime. Every single person I'm not saying anything that Wood Selig hasn't actually acknowledged, and that is that when people showed up to that stadium, it was like, what are we doing here? It was almost laughable. And so they had to make a switch. And, the fact that stadium, I think they said an 18-month project was put up in 9 months. It's incredible. It's somewhere between $67 and $70 million worth of renovations. And, the press box is amazing. The look of it is incredible. But unfortunately, it's a shame that in the first year of the stadium that they have not been able to put a winning product on the team. And the team understands it. Bobby Wilder understands it. Bobby Wilder has been in it long enough. He understands the situation now. I'm pretty sure of that.
Oh, he's been a coach for a long time. Talking to Nathan Epstein, and like you said, you can only cover it up. It's great for the wine and cheese crowd, but winners get donors as well. They get more money.
Yeah, I guess the question is, where do they go from here? And look, we still have a long ways to go. I think David Teal of the Daily Press actually had an article, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, talking about the future of Old Dominion and if Coach Wilder is feeling the pressure now. And I think the question was actually asked to Wood Selig about where does he stand right now? And Wood Selig says, look, Bobby Wilder's going to be the coach through the season, and they're going to make that decision when they have to make that decision.
Nathan, that was not a ringing endorsement by no means. And Wood is pretty straight up, but for him to give that type of answer, to me, is lukewarm. It's going to depend a lot on these next 4 games.
Yeah, and I think, Coach Wilder even said that this is going to be an audition for everybody. But look, I don't think anybody... It's not even considered an elephant in the room, because I think everybody knows exactly what it is. The fact of the matter is, this is a coach that here's the biggest problem, is that last year Coach Wilder had 22 seniors, and that was supposed to be a good team. I mean, that was supposed to be a bowl-bound team. And yes, they had the win over Virginia Tech, and it was amazing. I was there that night. My jaw dropped to the floor, and it was incredible, and everybody was so happy for Bobby Wilder and for the team, and maybe they were hoping that kind of a win could springboard them, because I think at the time they were 0-3 for that game. But the problem is that they ended up with a losing record, and then they lose all those 22 seniors, and they had such a fresh team. I mean, they had no quarterback. Blake LaRussa, the quarterback, he left the program to pursue the seminary school. They had 2 now NFL caliber receivers. Not caliber, they're actually in the NFL. You had O'Shane Ximenez, the first ever draft pick in the history of Old Dominion, defensive end. He's now playing for the New York Giants, and so you lose all of that talent, and aside from a bunch of other seniors, and he's tasked with making a bowl game this year. You talk about climbing up a steep mountain, and now it's looking pretty dire. And
quickly on Blake, I mean, here he was getting a great signature win, and of course then he wants to go into the priesthood. I don't blame him. That's a good career field, but he wasn't like, okay, this could catapult this university, academics, athletics, activities, fundraising, new stadium on the stadium eve. But really he was like, oh, no big deal. I just did what I had to do, and guess what? I'm not only leaving Old Dominion, I'm changing careers altogether.
Yeah, and I obviously
for a quarterback,
right? And we interviewed him afterwards, and it was a bit of it wasn't a bit. It was a pretty shocking decision. A kid that won a state championship in high school at Bishop at now what's called Catholic school, and went to Old Dominion and is now still responsible for the greatest win in Old Dominion history. But we asked him, did this have anything to do with maybe he accomplished what he wanted to in college, and he knows he's not going to be in the pros, and maybe he says, I'm done. He says, no. He says, I wanted to play. He says, but it's something that he felt very strongly about. He prayed about it. He talked to his family about it, and it's just something he couldn't ignore. And so I respect that. I mean, look, it's unfair to put on the quarterback all that stuff about, oh, this could change a program, and this could really bring in all these donors. I mean, that's unfair to put on one player, a quarterback, but yeah, I mean, you talk about a guy that would have been the starting quarterback heading into this year and was a proven guy at quarterback, and they just have not been able to find any kind of replacement for him.
And not to mention he had a bigger calling, great for him as well. All right, switching gears, you mentioned the dead of summer covering your sports crap. That's, it's tough during the June, July, and August. Yeah. I mean, the Redskins thing in Richmond, the novelty is wearing off because they're just not winning on the field. There's too much drama. What about the Tides and Admirals, especially the Admirals? They have not been relevant the last several years. They're trying to pick it back up. No radio broadcast. How relevant is the Admirals day to day?
Well, unfortunately, they have also fallen into kind of a dark place simply because we knew that it was going to be rough when they went from the American Hockey League, the AHL, to the ECHL. And I know that everybody who made that decision was talking about, oh, it's going to be great. We're going to bring back the glory days of the 90s and the ECHL. But the fact is the ECHL just isn't the same league as it used to be. And it's such a harder sell when that franchise, as part of the AHL, had guys that were in the NHL playing on national television, playing for the Ducks or whoever, or the Lightning or whoever the affiliate was at the time, and then all of a sudden the next day they're at Scope. That's something to sell. These guys are. I mean, and look at the amount of Admirals that are all over the NHL now, especially with the Lightning. Cooper is still the coach there, and you talk about in the AHL, they probably had the greatest run in hockey history, winning 28 straight games, going all the way to the Calder Cup title. And then you got to go back down to the ECHL, and they have not been able to find a consistent coach. They've switched owners a couple times. They've switched ownership a couple times. The GM is, they've switched GMs. It's been all over the place. So there's been no consistency there. And I think that the latest move is obviously they've brought in Rod Taylor, maybe the greatest admiral in franchise history, 3-time ECHL champion, a guy who's won at the local level, so we'll see what happens. I mean, he's a local sell. He's a guy that resonates with the fans, and so I think that there is a little bit, there's some relevancy back with it. The Tides have always been they've been fun. I mean, people covering the Tides, we understand from a coaching standpoint. They say, look, we're interested in developing players. It's not always about wins and losses, but you go to Harbor Park on a Friday, Saturday night, it's a blast.
It's an event. It's fun, and they treat the media the best.
Oh yeah,
I mean, they got the best.
Ian Locke is the man.
Oh, he is. He's a board member of the Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame. Sports Scene will continue after these messages.
Pointing the way in Hampton Roads. W261DI 100.1 FM Norfolk, AM 1010 WPMH Portsmouth, The Lighthouse.
And welcome back to Sports Scene. I want to thank our good friends at Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville. Go by and see Mike and the staff. Spacious, nice dining area. Bar, lunch, and dinner daily. Burgers, steaks, soups, salads, appetizers, seafood, pasta, chicken ribs. They're at 1255 Fordham Drive in Virginia Beach. Give them a call at 523-4832. They deliver. Of course, great place for the holidays is Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville. Back with part 3 with Nathan Epstein from Wavy TV 10, Fox 43. Go on and give us your Twitter and plug any social media.
Sure. I have, I'm on Twitter at Nathan_Epstein. It's pretty simple. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Nate Epstein TV. And those are the best ways to
when are you actually on TV? Because I know a lot of times Brian used to tell me Bruce would call in today and say, can Nathan fill in? So you never know about those days.
Yeah, you never know about the weekdays when Bruce is saying, I'm off today, or can you fill in for me? But generally I do the weekends. So if you're ever around the TV on Saturdays and Sundays, I anchor the Sports Wrap on Wavy News 10 at 6. That's on Channel 10. That's on Wavy at 10:45 on Fox 43, and then the 11 o'clock newscast as well on the weekends.
You guys got the best of both worlds because you got the NFL on Fox on Thursday and Sunday, and of course NBC's got a standalone game on Sunday night.
And I got to tell you, like that's above my pay grade because I'm not in the sales department. But I can tell you now that yes, it is very, very good to be a salesperson at Wavy, considering the fact that yes, we have the most watched television program in the country with Sunday Night Football, and then you have Fox, which has the Super Bowl this year, and it's we have a lot of good options.
And I put one of my clients on the World Series Game 1, a 15-second ad, folks. It wasn't cheap. You can't go exactly to McDonald's and get what you did for a cost of a 15-second ad, even locally. With all these political ads, too, as well. Did you ever think about, as you get older, I mean, you still have a long way in sports, that you want to do more in TV as opposed to just sports? I mean, you've seen different people do different things. Let's just take, for example, it's kind of an extreme. Maury Povich, he's on Fox 43. His dad was a renowned writer for the Washington Post. He used to do TV shows on Channel 5 in D.C. with Jeff Lawson back in the day when Lawson was over at Channel 5 before he went to WVEC. Does it ever tease you? Are you intrigued by different aspects of voiceovers, TVs, commercials, all that stuff?
I've never really thought much about it. I mean, first of all, I enjoy media as a whole. I mean, I can tell you that when breaking news happens, I really am fascinated by how people respond to it, and especially when you watch our newsroom and you watch how people work together and you see all the different facets of live television. I mean, I really enjoy that. As far as what I would hope to do, I mean, look, I've gone out and done some news reporting. It was fascinating when my first job was in Mississippi. And I don't know if you remember, but this was back in 2013. I think it was late February. We had an EF4 tornado that rolled through Hattiesburg, and unbelievably, nobody got killed. But I remember that news day very vividly. And I mean, I remember that night I'm hopping over power lines, through the devastating areas doing news. And that's days like that. You think, wow, this is pretty incredible, and you get to see some pretty incredible things. And I've given maybe a little bit of thought here and there to would I want to be more on the news side? Things that, I mean, look, the fact of the matter is we have fun in sports. I mean, sports is fun. It's, you're covering games for a living, but sometimes just the sheer fact of the matter is there are more important things going on than games, with politics and with everything else. And I love reading about politics. I've always been interested in that, so would I want to go into that someday? Maybe. But right now, I'm pretty happy doing sports.
Very nice. Talking to Nathan Epstein from Wavy TV10 at Greg Bick on Twitter as well. All right, jumping over to some other teams in the area that you guys cover. Wayne Mary, former UVA coach, former Richmond coach, Mike London, grew up in this area in Hampton Roads, had a very difficult year transitioning from Jimmy Laycock.
Well, I've always been the kind of guy that says, hey, look, it's his first year. I'm going to give him time. I did that when he was at UVA, and he's proven himself to be a pretty good FCS coach. I mean, yes, we can talk all we want about how he won a national championship at Richmond with the former coach's players. You can say that all you want. He still won a national championship, and he went on to Howard, a program with very little football tradition, and he actually pulled off, at least from a point spread standpoint, he pulled off the greatest upset in college football history, beating UNLV on the road. At that point, I think they were 45-point underdogs. So he's an incredible motivator. He is a very good recruiter, especially with ties around here. I mean, when he first got to UVA, he actually got a ton of talent. Unfortunately, he just didn't do much with it. Once he got into the 2012, 13, 14 years, later than that. But yeah, I mean, this year, look, they have their offense is definitely much improved. I mean, with Coach Laycock, he was always a defensive mind, and then towards the latter years, very similar to Frank Beamer in a sense that he just couldn't get the players. He couldn't recruit the same way that he used to, so he wasn't getting much of any kind of an offensive recruiting base, and so Mike London has really done some good things with the offense so far this year. But first year coach, they're still a young team. He's still trying to instill his culture and his players in there. So they've had some good moments. They nearly upset 5th ranked Villanova. I was there for that game. Obviously JMU's on another level right now, but I'm willing to sit back and see how this thing unfolds.
Right. And, of course, we'll see what happens as time evolves with Mike London, the basketball coach, of course, brand new as well. Virginia Tech and UVA, not great seasons, but very good seasons. Tech has evolved as the year has gone on. They got some nice wins. They've played shaky at times. UVA's been steady for the most part.
And right now, those two are kind of on opposite trajectories. I mean, you talk about Virginia Tech. At one point, they were, I think they were 2-1. Their only 2 wins were over Old Dominion and Furman, and Old Dominion was within a touchdown in the fourth quarter, and Furman should have led. I remember watching that game. They were leading 14-3 at half and should have been leading 21-3. Their quarterback or the receiver dropped a touchdown pass. And then you talk about how they've won, at the time of this, they'd won 3 in a row with wins over Miami, Rhode Island, and North Carolina. That North Carolina incredible 6-overtime game. With Virginia, the problem has not been the defense. It's been the inconsistent offense. I mean, literally, the offense has cost them in all 3 of their first losses, at Miami, at Notre Dame, and at
Louisville.
Louisville, that's right. So it's been their offense. And so, now you talk about a team in UVA that I think lost 3 out of their last 4 while Tech is on a 3-game winning streak. But if things continue on, I mean, if UVA can stay in it and if Tech can kind of reel off some wins, Virginia Tech gets Wake Forest at home. They got to go to Georgia Tech, but Georgia Tech has not been very good this year. There is a chance, there's a chance that maybe we could see Virginia Tech and Virginia Friday night, Black Friday, compete for the Coastal Division title.
Yeah, and a lot of fans, they don't like the Friday night because they don't get a chance to go up there. I mean, that's their traditional Saturday afternoon game, but Friday night you're dealing with traffic and...
Well, I grew up watching that game. I mean, as my dad went to UVA, I remember going, he took me to games when I was a kid, and it was always great. It's Saturday. There's a different feel about football Saturday, especially on rivalry Saturday. You only get, that's what I love about college football, is you get one shot at your rival every single year, unlike basketball or baseball or whatever. You get one shot every year, and I always enjoyed that pageantry. And it's just Friday's high school football. Friday's meant for high school. I don't like it.
And it's late too. It's for Friday night, real quick too. And all the best to UVA and Tech as they get ready for that game coming up in a few more weeks. The Nationals World Series, unbelievable. Their manager is under fire. They did not play well last year. They didn't even make the postseason. People were still talking about Dusty Baker this year up until recently. Whatever they do, as you say, by taping.
Here's what we'll do. If you are a Nationals fan, and they won, congratulations. If you're an Astros fan and they won, congratulations.
Yes, but doesn't mean the Nationals, as they are, will all be back next year either with free agency.
I mean, look, this ride has been absolutely incredible. Very similar to the run that the Capitals went on. I mean, when you talk about the Capitals winning the Stanley Cup a couple of years ago, they had their backs up against the wall several times leading up to it. Going on winning that one, and this year, you talk about they're down 3-1 in the 8th inning against the Brewers in the wild card game. They're an inning and a half away from their season being over. Then you talk about the divisional series, Game 5 in L.A. L.A. had set a franchise record for wins in a regular season, and they got to face Kershaw, and same thing, 8th inning, down 3-1, back-to-back home runs, Rendon, Soto, unbelievable, and then the grand slam by Howie Kendrick. Then they sweep the Cardinals. I mean, and then you talk about this series, the World Series, they're up 2-0, then they're down 3-2, then they force a Game 7. It's been incredible. I mean, it's been so much fun to watch.
Ice water in their veins on the road is what I'll take from the postseason.
For both teams.
Yes, ice water in their veins. All right, leave us with what you enjoy the most, of course, and some other highlights that you're very proud of in your first several years there at Wavy.
My favorite thing has always been college football. I think it's the most meaningful regular season in all of sports. It's the fewest amount of games that have the most impact. I love the fact that in college football you get, as I said, one shot at your rival every single year. And I just love the energy that goes into it. I think that sometimes pro sports have become a little corporate, and I think that it doesn't have the same energy. But as far as what I'm most proud of, I don't know if there's one story or one moment or whatever, but I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed being on sidelines. I've enjoyed meeting the people that I've gotten to meet. I've enjoyed working with some incredible people, and I try to have fun as much as I can.
What I like about the NFL, real quick, is the length of games are shorter than college football. College football, it's a quick halftime of the NFL. The quarters go by quick. They don't stop on first downs. NFL is structured for 4:05 or 4:25. College football is just it can last and last, like the 6 overtimes. It's a good example.
6 overtimes.
Nathan, all the best. We'll get you back on again here, and thank you for your time, your talent, and your treasure all at Wavy TV 10 and Fox 43.
I appreciate it, Greg. Thanks for having me.
All right, very good. Nathan Epstein from Wavy TV 10, Fox 43. Stay tuned.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Email bicogb@hotmail.com. Now back to Greg Bicouvaris in the Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com studios. It's now time for Greg's Highlights, presented by Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com.
All right, now time for highlights. GJBTV.com, HRSMHOF.com, Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com. Congratulations to the 2020 recipients of the Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame. Go to the website HRSMHOF.com to see who they are, as well as our ceremony will be in the spring of 2020, our third annual next year. Our question of the day presented by Buffalo Wild Wings and Newport News to our esteemed producer, Andrew. Andrew, what's worse to you, doing laundry itself or putting away laundry?
Well, I love putting it away because I just throw it into the drawers and I don't bother with folding it or anything like that, sorting it. But then my wife gets kind of mad at me. So I don't know. I guess it's a little bit of a toss-up. Probably putting away. You don't have to worry about detergent, measuring stuff, making sure everything gets dry in the dryer. It's a lot simpler just putting everything where it's supposed to go. So I suppose if I had my druthers, I put laundry away.
And there's no app for doing laundry, Andrew. Maybe by the time your kids get old enough, maybe a robot can do it for them.
Exactly.
All right, stay tuned.
When it comes to automobile service in Hampton Roads, Fink's Car Care is the destination locals have counted on for decades. Family owned and operated, they specialize in transmission service, oil changes, state inspection, radiator service, tires, alignments, and showcase Win Automotive products. Fink's does it all. Military and senior discounts are available. Like them on Facebook and visit them at 2711 Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth. For more, log on to finkscarcare.com and call 485-5555 today. You are listening to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris. Now, back to Greg.
And welcome back to Sports Scene. I want to thank our good friends at CP Shuckers, Locals Tradition on Shore Drive, Pacific Avenue. People love their delicious food, great appetizers like the steak bites, sandwiches, burgers, all the games on TV, NFL and college football. Go by and see Matt, Mark, and Chef Leon and like them on Facebook. Great food, 2 locations in Virginia Beach for delicious food and great times this holiday season. It's a welcome pleasure to join our regular featured guest once a month, Mr. George McClain of The Marksman. George, how are you, my friend?
Doing well, Greg. How about yourself?
Very good, very good. Well, we're into November and, of course, the final 2 months of the year. So what will people see when they walk into the nice store there?
Well, probably a few more customers. The crowds start picking up this time of the year going into the holidays. So it's kind of the start of our busy time. So you'll probably see your inventory come up a little bit more. We try to keep more things on the hand that folks typically ask for, even though you can order anything you want. We can have it in usually within a couple, 2 or 3 days. But we try to keep more of what has been selling over the years, so you don't have to wait. You can come in hands-on, fill out the paperwork, and you walk back out the store with it. So that's kind of the focus for about the next 4 to 5 months.
As always, tell our listening audience that listens on the radio every Saturday morning at 10 right here on WPMH. You can go to YouTube, type in George McClain Sports Scene, and you can hear some archived interviews. George, with all this stuff going on during the holiday season, I wanted to ask you this question. You see a lot of theft on porches. More and more people are getting doorbells with cameras, and they have more visibility around their house, not just their business as it used to be. Does that deter criminals, or are they still, it's pretty much for them, they have no idea whether they're on camera or not?
Well, that's the thing. There's no minimum aptitude, to be a bad guy, stealing stuff off of people's porches. So, the smart ones, they'll look around. They're educated have educated themselves to the point they know what to look for. They know what that ring looks for. They know where typically cameras are placed, to where you've got a view of the front. But in a lot of cases, by the time they walk up and spot it, their face is already there. And so if they see the camera, they got to make a decision. They see me, am I going to go ahead and take the package? Most of them, won't. The ones that's not going to go through that inspection deal, they're just going to run up and take the package and go with it. And there's no way you're really going to prevent that as long as you're getting home deliveries that's being left outside. If you could time it to where somebody is home, to where they ring the doorbell, and you take it inside. But I know from my own home sometimes that I am home and I'm expecting a delivery, and it doesn't matter who the delivery service is, they will leave it on the porch and not even ring the doorbell, won't knock on the door. So we never know it's there until we go and physically inspect and see it's there. But they don't always, I say they don't always, they seldom will ring the doorbell to let you know you have a delivery out there. So I don't know how you address it. Have your cameras out, and if you're one of the unfortunate ones where some of your stuff is stolen, maybe you might be able to identify who it was.
Yeah, because everything now has a scanning and tracking service, even certified mail. They'll leave a slip, UPS, they'll leave packages, Federal Express, everything, Amazon. I mean, so this is the time of the year that people have to be on guard. Anyway, regardless, George.
Well, that's very true. And, we talk a lot of times about, people even shopping, not talking about deliveries. But if you're walking out of a store of some type, and I'm not talking necessarily grocery store, but you may have your hands full of packages or stuff that you've gotten, they're in bags, and you're going to be wrapping them for gifts. And you've got to be aware of where you're parking, what the lighting is like. Ask yourself, what would I do if somebody jumped out as I pass this next car walking to your own vehicle? And you're raising the trunk of your car, if you have a trunk, or if you're the back end, if you got a lift gate or a van type of thing. Always be aware. You almost have to have eyes in the back of your head, but you can't just be focused on what's in front of you. You got to stop what you're doing and actually survey the area around you to make sure you're not placing yourself in harm's way.
Yeah, I always tell my loved ones 30 seconds to look around because it gets dark early in November. People are out looking for stuff like this. They're looking for vulnerable people. You just can't park like it's the euphoria of summer and think, okay, I'm going to slip in and slip out, because you know what? The criminal can slip in and slip out of your car. And like you said, they could be parked to the left, the right, the front, the back. You have no idea, and you need to have your keys in your hands when you're walking back to your car.
So absolutely, I agree with that 100%. And keep in mind that the bad guys are already at these parking lots scoping out the best places. And especially if it's a very busy day, and you might think, well, no one's going to park, back here in this corner because it's dark. Well, I got news for you. I mean, people do dumb things. I wouldn't. I tell my wife not to. I tell my daughter not to. But there are folks who will, because they get in a hurry. They want to go in and shop. There's a big sale going on someplace, and that is the only. They've been driving around the parking lot for maybe 20 minutes waiting for somebody to pull out and vacate a parking spot. And the one that does is in the dark section, dark corner. And so you park in there and you go out and buy your stuff. Now you come back out and you've got it, and the bad guys are in the weeds waiting on you or beside another vehicle. And that's the game that they play. So you just need to be aware. And when we talk about awareness, it's the whole self-defense thing. Before you even get to self-defense, it's keeping yourself out of those situations that may cause you to have to to have a need to defend yourself to start with, which means you don't park in dark spots. You park in the lighted area where your people are there, kind of a thing. So you just common sense needs to come more into the focus, and a lot of people forget about the common sense stuff, and they do dumb things that after the fact, when they've been accosted or all of their stuff is stolen, and then they will tell somebody, well, I shouldn't have done that. I should have known better than to park in a dark spot like that. But that's right. But be proactive about it, not reactive.
Exactly. And moving along, we deal with drama every day. If you're an adult, if you're not living, you don't have drama, whether it's at work, home, church, whatever. There's always negative people out there trying to bite you regardless. And I want to say this, too. Back in July, I was involved in a fender bender at a big box store. A woman ran right into my car without even looking, just backed up into my car. Well, of course, my insurance paid for it, to make a long story short, but I got her license plate just in case I ever see her again. And sure enough, I did see her on a weekend at a tire store recently. And you never know, George. I mean, just there's drama, and I guess we're lucky these days with that drama. We do have camera phones so we can take pictures. There's nothing worse than an uninsured driver, because that too is a threat to everybody.
Well, that's very true. And a lot of them may have insurance, but they don't want the ding against their insurance. They may have something totally unrelated to insurance. They may have a warrant out against it. They may have something where they know they don't want to interact with the police in any instance. They don't want that accident report. They have to be interviewed, and someone take their driver's license, then they find out they passed a bad check somewhere, even though I guess those days are going away, since most people don't use checks. They use plastic, which is probably a good thing. But even that, credit cards get stolen, and you go in, and a lot of people will take your credit card without even checking, the ID. And that's just as bad as passing a bad check. So just need to be careful. And I don't know how your story ended. I usually caution people that when something like that happens, and if you then later identify the individual, my recommendation is, if it's serious enough, you call the police, and especially if you have filed a report, you call the police and let them make the contact.
Right.
We're not the police, So yes, we were the injured party, but to place ourselves to go up and confront this individual, you have no idea how this individual is going to react to you. They don't see you as a position, or being in a position of authority, and you may get some very bad treatment that just makes the situation worse. So I would never advocate, personal involvement in something like that, other than, calling the police department and let them handling it.
Right. I was very fortunate. We were both civil. She was civil. My insurance paid for it. There was no drama. I just told her to be careful on the roads. She totally accepted that, and that's all we said. So, but like you said, if it's a police matter, definitely the police should be first. Let me ask you back to this month, November, going into December, too. When I mentioned it gets dark earlier, you have to be careful at home, too, as well, because, when you're leaving in the dark, you're coming home in the dark.
Well, very, very true. Probably the more dangerous time is coming home, especially if you have a regular daytime job. If you're leaving and it's dark, it's the old ODark 30 acronym that we use, slang term that we throw out there a lot. It's early, and probably there's not a lot of people hiding in the bushes, although there could be, but I think the chances are relatively low at that time of day. Where it's more advantageous for the bad guys knowing that you come home at 6 o'clock every night, and at 6 o'clock it's pitch black outside, and especially if you've got shrubs, around your house that someone could hide behind, that becomes a very good hiding place. And now what their goal would be, who knows? If they're there to, as you unlock your door to push you inside and come in right behind you and attack or rape or steal everything that's in the house, kind of a deal, depending on who the individual is that they've been stalking. So yes, you need to be very very aware of what could happen. So make sure you've got some day-night lights outside, or as it gets dark, they come on and illuminate, or at least motion detectable lights that will come on to where it's a lit area. We talked about our security cameras, everything beforehand. This is also a good time if they're motion detected. So when it picks up the body or body heat or the movement, that they start recording. So again, if anything untoward would happen like that, at least it would be recorded. But obviously, you want to be able to defend yourself before it even gets to that point.
Yeah, but cut those bushes like I did, folks. George, recently, we've had a lot of United States terrorism as far as the big box stores, the shootings recently in the summer. But of course, our military just took care of a foreign terrorist. We don't need to mention his name or his affiliation. I think everybody knows who we're talking about. Just happened recently, but that's just another reason to go to the marksman and be prepared and get proper gun training, in my opinion.
Very, very true. We'll go back to the early days and the old days of scouting and the motto of be prepared. And it's always much, much better to be prepared and be ready to defend yourself and pray that you never, ever have to do that than to be in a situation where you need to defend yourself and you've never prepared for that. That the outcome in that situation is going to be very, very bad. So tell folks all the time, and they can say, "Oh, I hate guns." Well, you can hate guns all you want. That does not stop the bad guy from using them or using something else to harm you or one of your loved ones, or to destroy or steal or take all of your possessions. So you need to decide how you're going to defend yourself. And if you want to, there's people that live their whole life and never have to defend themselves about anything, and that's great. I wish I was one of those. Unfortunately, I'm not. So I prepare for the worst, and then hope that the worst never happens.
I guess the old motto saying, we all get thrown verbal daggers, but that doesn't mean you can pull out a gun. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words may never harm you. But regardless, people do get upset. They do get anger. They do get fear. They get jealousy. They get hatred on the road and off the road. So you really have to keep your cool as well.
Well, that's right. I mean, it's... If you're one of these folks that can't control your anger, you probably need to suck it up and admit that to yourself, and get some anger management classes that helps you to distract your anger thoughts, even though you've got somebody there that's a jerk on the highway. It's again common sense stuff. You don't get into a battle with vehicles, motor vehicles. That's never a good thing. So it's just being mature. And I say that, and there's older folks out there that age-wise you would think they're mature, but psychologically they're not. They play these games, and a lot of them that start that. And it's just unfortunate the results that we see sometimes of that when you got the car parks scattered all over along a highway and injured or worse folks involved in as passengers.
Yep. Please be careful. The Marksman's located at 520 Industrial Park Drive in Newport News. Google the Marksman. Like them on Facebook. Military Mondays and First Responder Fridays, of course. George, the phone number is 872-4130. Great staff. Open 7 days a week to help you this November and December. George, leave us with a final note.
Well, just everyone be safe. Kind of take heed of what our discussion has been today. I think it was very apropos for Greg to start that, but just be aware as the holiday season approaches, the type of criminal activity increases, and it's exacerbated by the early nighttime. Makes it easier for them to do it. So be aware that's the key thing that I'll leave you with for this month and going into next month is just be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, not everybody has your best interest in mind. I think that's been the theme of this. Unfortunately, we have to be guarded. Keep your loved ones close. Keep your enemies even closer. George, all the best.
Absolutely.
All the best to you and the Marksman and the great staff at Newport News. Phone number 872-4130, and we will talk to you in December, George.
Thank you very much, Greg. Have a great Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you then.
Very good. Thank you, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Mold, trash, rodents, snakeskin, even deceased animals. No, this isn't a Halloween shopping list. It's what might be under your house, in your crawl space. Schedule a free crawl space inspection with the Crawl Space Company and find out what's in your crawl space. Call 757-394-3494 to schedule your free inspection or visit thecrawlspacecompany.net. So, do you know what's in your crawl space?
And now get back to basics with Ray Gessner here on The Lighthouse.
Hi, I'm Ray Gessner with a Step in Time Chimney Sweeps. Being Christians, the Bible says, judge not or you'll be judged. So here we are, God's chosen. Let's be nice to people. Let's not point at people and say they're going to hell. Let's not be judgmental. I'm Ray Gessner with a Step in Time Chimney Sweeps. God bless you, and you can find me at chimneysweep.com.
When it comes to automobile service and Hampton Roads, Fink's Car Care is the destination locals have counted on for decades. Family owned and operated, they specialize in transmission service, oil changes, state inspection, radiator service, tires, alignments, and showcase Win Automotive products. Fink's does it all. Military and senior discounts are available. Like them on Facebook and visit them at 2711 Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth. For more, log on to finkscarcare.com and call 485-5555 today. What tees you off? Presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com.
All right, what teased me off? Glad you're with us at Greg Bick on Twitter. Hope you enjoyed the high school football games on NNPS TV, Cox Cable 47 and 517. For more, log on to nnpstv.com. We said it before over and over again. I'm sorry, Andrew, I'm just sick of these political ads.
You know, I don't watch like a whole lot of traditional media, so I would say I've missed out on a lot of them. I've been surprised to not see a whole lot on my social media feeds and like on YouTube. I've seen some, but I thought I would see some more. So I'm curious as to some of the strategies, or if just for whatever reason these algorithms feel like I shouldn't be seeing them. I'm not really sure, but I've been surprised I haven't seen more.
What else teased me off? Things stuck in your teeth when you least expect it.
Oh, I hate that. I like popcorn quite a bit, and you know those little seed. It's almost the skin of the seed. You know, they'll always get stuck in your teeth, and I never have a piece of floss when I need it. Drives me nuts.
This has happened to all of us, whether we're in public or sometimes in private. Excessive staring.
Yeah, I'm one of these people. I'm a deep thinker, not in the sense that I'm super smart, but I'm always kind of like chewing on something in my mind, and I will often just stare because I'm thinking through something, and every once in a while I'll start staring in someone's direction. I'm not looking at them, but I'll realize, oh, holy cow, I've been looking at this person for like 20 solid seconds. So I might be one of those people, but yeah, it is weird, and I don't like when people do it to me.
Another thing that's kind of odd too, this happens to everybody once in their lifetime during the holidays, when guests, Andrew, don't know when it's time to leave.
That's a really hard one. I hate being a guest and not knowing exactly when to leave either. But yeah, it's hard. I'm a big fan of communication and just setting expectations. And so a lot of times I'll just kind of say, hey, come this time and, stay until this time and try and avoid some of that awkwardness. But, family's family. It's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. Outright rude people you run into in your daily life.
Yeah, I had an experience actually 3 days ago where someone was just, there was no sort of gray area trying to figure out, okay, were they trying to be rude or is that just the way they communicate? Just rude. And man, it really made me mad. It made me mad how mad it made me that they were able to get under my skin. But yeah, let's be nice to each other out there.
Especially on the roadways too, as well, or in person. It's just as easy to give a compliment than it is to give a cut. Pushing future holidays down your throat. I mean, we just got through Halloween, for goodness.
Yeah, I gotta say, I hate the commercialization of Christmas. I have always loved Christmas. I love the good, wholesome values of it. I love the religious elements of it, all that sort of thing. The only thing that I like about its commercialization is that I am not a fan of Halloween. I do like the fact that Christmas is even now beginning to sort of take the fire out of Halloween a little bit, and it's starting to encroach on Halloween space on the store shelves and just even in people's yards. So I have a love-hate relationship with that.
My grandfather was in the restaurant business, both of them, and of course your father was too. Andrew, you know this, portions at restaurants can be very disproportionate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, I don't know. I don't personally like it when I get like a huge platter and just like tons and tons of food. In some way, that's kind of unappealing to me. But certainly when you get a really, really small portion of something that's just not in any way in proportion to what you're paying. I don't know. Again, it's all these nuances of running a restaurant and doing it well that people never think about. And they go, oh, I'd love to run a restaurant one day. It's like my dad would always say, it is so hard. Really, don't do it unless it's the only thing that you can do.
Two more things for what teased me off. Being on an email list that you didn't expect, and of course, absolutely being tagged on social media when you don't expect it as well. What do you think about this person who's going under the weather? They're just tagging you without your knowledge.
Yeah, the email thing, I've just made peace with that because it seems like it's just going to happen. I don't think they're supposed to do it, but man, I just get emails from everywhere, it seems like. So I don't know that I'm ever going to stop that. The tagging thing, that's why I don't do like I don't really know much about the Twitter world, but it seems like there's a lot of adding in Twitter that can oftentimes cause a lot of problems and strife and stuff. So I stay out of that as much as possible so I don't get tagged and things.
I know copying on email is enough for me without the tagging. And the final thing is when you go to a business or a doctor's office or a dentist's office or a customer service store, they want you to take a survey. Most people delete it.
Yeah, they do. I've tried to get better and better about taking them because I do have strong opinions, and sometimes I'm like, I wish these places would change. And then they give you the opportunity to voice that. Now, a lot of times they'll give you some sort of incentive to take a survey, So my wife is super good about it. She gets free stuff all the time just for taking surveys. So I'm trying to follow in her footsteps a little bit because it is good that people are trying to get your feedback. And hey, that's great to have your voice heard. So I'm trying to take advantage of that.
And that's what teased me off.
When it comes to automobile service in Hampton Roads, Fink's Car Care is the destination locals have counted on for decades. Family owned and operated, they specialize in transmission service, oil changes, state inspection, radiator service, tires, alignments, and showcase Win Automotive products. Fink's does it all. Military and senior discounts are available. Like them on Facebook and visit them at 2711 Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth. For more, log on to finkscarcare.com and call 485-5555 today. Mold, trash, rodents. snakeskin, even deceased animals. No, this isn't a Halloween shopping list. It's what might be under your house, in your crawl space. Schedule a free crawl space inspection with the Crawl Space Company and find out what's in your crawl space. Call 757-394-3494 to schedule your free inspection or visit thecrawlspacecompany.net. So, do you know what's in your crawl space?
And now get back to basics with Ray Gessner here on the Lighthouse.
Hi, I'm Ray Gessner with a Step in Time Chimney Sweeps. Being Christians, the Bible says, judge not or you'll be judged. So here we are, God's chosen. Let's be nice to people. Let's not point at people and say they're going to hell. Let's not be judgmental. I'm Ray Gessner with a Step in Time Chimney Sweeps. God bless you, and you can find me at chimneysweep.com.
You are listening to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris. Now, back to Greg.
I want to thank our guest today, an extended interview with Nathan Epstein from Wavy TV 10, Fox 43 in 3 segments, and of course George McClain, one of our regulars, right here on Sports Scene every Saturday morning from 10 to 11 on WPMH, at Greg Bickle on Twitter. Go to tunein.com and become a favorite of Sports Scene at 10 o'clock by typing WPMH. So thank you again to our guests. For more, go to gjbtv.com, at Greg Bickle on Twitter. Hope you enjoy your day. For Andrew, I'm Greg Bicouvaris. Thanks for listening to Sports Scene, and we'll talk to you soon.